Welcome to Origins and Outcomes. My name is Andrew Worcester. Today's book is Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. In any kind of art, I kind of believe that when you find it at the right age, at the right point in your life, there's a bigger, different kind of meaning. And for me, that was certainly the case with Catcher in the Rye. I know I'm probably not unique to this. It is considered to be one of the best books for high school boys to read. It has a certain connection to the way that adolescence makes them feel. I actually found this book when I was about 16, right before going into the school. So it was the end of the summer of the school year, and I went to the library and they had all the books laid out for the summer reading. And Catcher in the Rye wasn't on my list for my school, but I did see it there and I've heard about it. It's something I think, in magazines and TV shows and on the internet that you just become aware of, even if you don't know any specifics about it. So I picked it up and I read the first couple pages, and something about the way it started and just the tone, the conversational tone of it, made me want to, get it and read it. And I was hooked. It was one of those books that I just read all night, and the next day I woke up and I finished it. And I wasn't a reader in school. I kind of despised reading of any kind at that point in my life. There's only one other book, Fahrenheit 451, that I ever actually sunk my teeth in and I really enjoyed. But this was kind of a turning point in how I looked at literature and creativity and writing and the potential that was in there. And the story, as you know, it's about a kid that kind of wakes up in a world where he goes to private schools, and he realizes that everyone around him was fake and phony, and he had an anger about him for that and a discontentment from that. And I felt myself in the same light. I went to private schools all my life, and I reached a point where I couldn't exist in that environment either, and I saw the cracks in that environment as well. And reading that book, it just kind of confirmed a lot of the things that are right on the surface that weren't quite coming out yet. And that certainly created problems in school and problems in my life going forward from that. But it was a really important revelation in kind of developing who I already was becoming, and more importantly, I think who I wanted to be as well. It's that age in life when you're 16, 17, 18, where you start really defining a lot of who you are, or at least realizing that there's a lot of you that isn't defined that you want to figure out how to define. And that really was the case when I read that book. Going forward, when I started, 19, 20, I became obsessed with Salinger. That was back in the time again where, the internet wasn't prevalent. It was around, obviously. You could do a lot of things. But to go out and find his short stories that were in magazines from the 50s or 40s was near impossible. I found myself trying to get his stuff on eBay for old magazines and spending way much more money than I had to try to get extra content and extra stories that he had written. I went to different libraries in Boston and got photocopies of different stories. And then I actually happened upon a book on eBay that I ended up sniping at the end. And I got it away from this one kid who was trying to buy it as well. And he kind of emailed me. I'm not sure how he emailed me, but he found a way of contacting me and said, "Oh, you really got me on that one. I was trying to get that too. I've been looking for all of Salinger's work as well." So he was on the same path, the same mission I was. A really nice guy. We had a kind of couple back and forths about our love of Salinger and what the work meant to us. And a couple weeks later, he actually sent me an email, and he was able to find a copy of all the uncollected stories. And he actually emailed me the Word file. So from there, it took me, a whole summer and a half to try to figure out how to get his content, and reading 9 stories and, rereading Catcher in the Rye and Franny and Zoe and all his different content. And then all of a sudden I had, 300 pages of extra short stories that I was able to divulge in. And it really was the start of me writing short stories as well, from reading 9 stories and then all the uncollected stories too. It kind of made me feel the way his stories always acted for me, where there's a certain personal touch to it. And I kind of an emotion in stories that I really had to understood or really read in other stories before that. It was the first time that I really saw that in different novels and in different stories. And it made me think of if this is what writing is, this is what I have inside me as well. And that's what really made me start writing too. So that's really the story of me and J.D. Salinger at Catcher in the Rye. It was a gateway not only to all the Salinger work, but also a gateway into understanding the different ways literature can make you feel and how you can relate to something, not just in a movie or in a song, but also in the written word as well. And in how, in a lot of ways, that's more powerful than the other forms and the other mediums that people express it in. So that is really the story of me and J.D. Salinger and the Catcher in the Rye.